Hi, I'm Randall from Randall's ESL Cyber Listening Lab, and we're here today for a wonderful experience in the Teacher Swap Shop. This is October 2020. And the swap shop, the purpose of the swap shop is to give teachers around the world the opportunity to share ideas on language learning and teaching. And unlike traditional presentations where someone stands up and gives a presentation for 45 minutes or longer, especially focusing on the pedagogical framework or rationale for their ideas, in the swap shop, we're trying to give burst of energy, burst of ideas in 5 to 6 minutes, followed by discussion by the entire group. And that's what we're going to be accomplishing today in the swap shop. The swap shop will be about 90 minutes. And during the swap shop, I encourage everyone that is participating today to use the chat feature so that you can share comments, share ideas, so that I can bring those up as though they come up. I'll be moderating this, but I'm looking forward to ideas. And today's presentation is going to be on ideas of teaching and assessing listening speaking skills. While the other presenters are speaking, I ask you that you put your microphone on mute. And then when we open it up to the general conversation, then we will watch that broadcast and be able to share ideas as well. So let's just go ahead and begin. And again, we'll start with, this is the basic program. And also Nesreen will beginning our presentation today. So Nesreen, if you could go ahead and begin your ideas, and that will be followed up by some general discussion. And as you need, if you want me to go on to the next slide, just kind of prompt me and we'll do so in that way. Nesreen.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So this is a short little slideshow of what I show my students at the beginning of each semester. So these are just a few ways of improving your listening skills. So one way is putting the captions, or if it's subtitles, sometimes a movie is in a different language, if you put the English subtitles so that you could read the word, it kind of helps build vocabulary, and it really helps kind of your ears hear what they are saying and connect it to the words that you're reading on the screen, on the screen.
And interesting, Nesreen, when I watch Netflix or anything, my wife and I always watch with captions on. All right, so I think that's for anyone. Great.
Another thing that I love, so in the United States, or at least in Connecticut where I live, we have Meet Libby. So it's audiobooks. There's a lot of different platforms, but audiobooks are a wonderful way to train your ears to the English language. Great way to build vocabulary. It's also really good for your brain to kind of remember what are they saying? What happened yesterday when I listened? So I always encourage students to listen to audiobooks, and it could be as simple as listen while you're cooking. You're already spending probably 2 hours in the kitchen. You might as well listen to something. This way, it kind of helps there.
And that would be great. And anyone else who has used audiobooks or using some audiobooks online, feel free to share as well. That's a great idea.
So another great app on the cell phone, since most of us, probably all of us have cell phones kind of glued to us at all times. So there's this great app called Lyrics Training, which is available in the App Store. And what's really nice is that you can choose music from different countries. So I would recommend for my students in America to look for the American flag that is on the picture. And it'll bring up music that is in English. And it'll bring you up these, if you look over here in the picture, it'll show that the lyrics, and then it has the words that you can choose from, because it has a circle for you to fill in the missing word. Right. If you get it wrong, it'll tell you the right one. And it's just fun to listen to music that most people enjoy.
Right. And I think this will be connected also in a way to what Mona is going to be sharing. And then after her part, then we'll open that to discussion. That's great.
All right. I believe this is my last slide. So my students absolutely love when we do music. So I try to pick songs that are clear. I type into YouTube like the name of the song, and I try to write like a cappella, or find something that has as little instruments as possible.
Oh, good.
This way they can kind of hear the words a little more clearly. So this is an example. So ISL Collective is a wonderful website that already has these worksheets done for you. You could always create them on your own, but why recreate something if someone's already done it for you? So what I tend to do, so the first one for thinking out loud has the boxes with the words that you can choose from. So I teach multi-level classes. So when I have the lower level English speaking students, I give them the word bank, the boxes that give you the words to choose from. This way it kind of helps them to kind of look at the words and choose from there, because the music goes fast, right? Because, or it seems like it's fast. So it kind of helps the lower end of the classes, the beginners. But anyone who is, I consider intermediate or advanced, gets a worksheet where I have removed the word bank because they don't need it. I want them to kind of listen and write down what they hear. And I tell them spelling does not count. If you have the first letter and the last letter, if it's missing, but that's what you know, if you wrote feet, F-E-T, I don't care. You heard the word. So in this case, spelling does not count as long as you hear the word. And it's just something really fun. My students absolutely love this activity.
And that's great. And what we're going to do, I know that Mona has a similar threaded connection to this in terms of music. So Nesreen, what we're going to do is we're going to go on to Mona and then open up the discussion to the entire group about music and song and websites. Also, so thank you, Nesreen. And anyone, please use the chat feature inside Zoom if you have a comment or a website or a resource so that I can read out loud to others as well. All right. All right. So thank you. Oh, I think we're going on to Nayeli. Nayeli, we're going to go on to you. But Nesreen, we're going to come back to the idea of music in a few minutes.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Orlando. I'm talking about assessing speaking. What I like to focus on is the stages we need to have to assess the speaking, either face to face or online. Can you change?
Yep.
Thanks. I number them into 5. The first is the term. We need to set terms with our objectives. When we plan a course, obviously we need to do it by terms. So we connect these terms with the objectives, and you know that they have to be specifically for speaking. And then we have to set the format of how we are going to assess students on speaking. The format I wrote in the interview, the oral presentation, the interactive task, the group discussion tasks. These are 4 ideas on how to assess speaking. For example, the interview, that is, you ask questions to your students. The oral presentation, they choose a topic, and the interactive task, well, talking to each other as pairs or small groups. And the group discussion task, that could be with the whole group. Yes, setting the format is the thing that go first. Then the number 4, that is a task. You have to choose what is best for you, for your students. Sorry, describing something, telling a story, comparing things, or give some personal information. In describing something, it could be a picture, it could be a place, it could be the place where they live. Telling a story, talking about what happened to them on their holiday, or the day before. Comparing things. This is usually when we focus on 2 people and give some personal information. Well, you're talking about yourself, your family, etc. And these are connected for the format and the task, because it depends if the student is working individually or as a group. And then you have to give the setting, how you're going to assess it. Is it going to be live? I mean, in face-to-face groups, you have to set a date. Or if it is online, well, as we are doing it in live, or recorded. It could be recorded with a video and send it by email and online. That it's how we're working now online because of the situation. And these are the 5 things I talk about when assessing speaking. And the most important thing is how you're going to assess all this. And I said using rubrics.
And I'm going to share, sorry to jump in, Nayeli. I'm going to show that rubric here in a second. In a minute, I want to open this up to discussion afterwards. But how do you go about, this is not a question for you, Nayeli, but for the entire group in a few minutes, is what are the challenges in doing a interview assessment versus a group assessment of 3 or 4 people? So we'll talk about that in a minute. And any of you, as Nayeli's sharing about the setting, how to record it, any tools that you use, technologies that you use for recording it as well, that would be great to listen to. Okay, sorry to interrupt there.
Talking about rubrics, it's important to have according to the activity you set, the criteria. I wrote that general. For example, task achievement, language accuracy and range, fluency, pronunciation, that's in general. Or more specific, like I am assessing past tenses. So I'm going to write there the use of past tenses. And how you're going to assess, well, you have to give the specific rubric that is excellent. You give the points 5, for example. Good, average, borderline, and needs improvement. You have to, I don't know if I attach the format.
Yeah, and I'm going to share that with the entire group afterwards.
Okay,
And,
sorry.
No, and let me just see. It was this one, right?
Yeah.
Is this it?
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, you have to be specific for the students. This is one of my rubrics that I have. This is very general. You say grammar, vocabulary, fluency, comprehensibility, and pronunciation. Yes, and they have to have it before the presentation, before they have they present it. It's important for them to have it before because they can know what are they going to be assessed.
Okay, and this is some of the example here.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great, Nayeli. Now, Nayeli, would it be okay if we open up this discussion to the group now?
Of course.
Okay. One of the things is that, and this is some of the things, what successes or challenges have you had in creating and using rubric for speaking assessment? And I would just want to open that up. Great ideas, Nayeli, and trying to create a rubric. But I'm interested also from the group of hearing what successes and what challenges have you had in doing rubric with your students? Now let me give you an example. When I think I've shared this before, when I was studying Spanish in high school, 1978, my teacher, I hated my teacher because she only spoke Spanish. All right. I mean, you're supposed to like teachers like that. But one day she said, "Oh, Randall, on this, you got a 7.5 on your speaking, and your friend got an 8." And I said, "What is the difference between a 7.5 and an 8 and an 8.5 and a 9? How have teachers had, success or challenges in trying to create a rubric that works best for them in interviews and group work and so forth?"
Well, for our
And this is for
system,
anyone.
it's a little difficult. Sometimes we say we have to set numbers. You're a 5, you're a 10, you're a
Right.
6, right?
I
And
agree.
they don't know what is that, as you said. So that's why we're using rubrics, because we need to know what that means. So we give a number, but we also give the explanation of the number.
Good.
What does that mean? So you are a 2, lack of basic words, inadequate use, etc. Right? It's like it's easier for them to improve, to know where they are, where they have problems, so that they can improve. So I think that rubrics help us be clear in the way we assess them, so that they know what are their challenges, or what
Great.
are their successes.
And let me ask the group, what challenges or successes have you had in administering an interview? So if I were to say, hi, what is your name? And the person answers, versus assessing group dynamics. Like I'm assessing, 3 or 4 students at the same time. Have anyone had successes in doing that, or just challenges?
Can I speak?
Yes, Mona.
Well, generally, when we assess speaking in our Tunisian classrooms, it's a kind of oral test, speaking test, all right? And we generally call at least two students, or maybe more, to the board, and they are supposed to enact a kind of conversation or to describe a kind of situation, okay? And of course, the speaking test should be necessarily related to what we have seen before. Okay, whether in the previous lesson or even before, or it can be something related to the whole chapter or to the whole module we are speaking or we are talking about. Okay, so it's not really a kind of interview, as you said. It's not really like teacher and students. It's rather between student and student.
Okay.
All right. Now, if and of course, it depends on the level of the students who are calling for the speaking test. If it is a lower level, if it is a low level, we usually give hints for these students to help them. Okay, but if they are kind of advanced and outstanding students, we just give them the situation and set them free to speak.
Yeah, and these are, like I said, I think we could go on about these different types of things. And
Yes.
Nayeli, you mentioned about fluency and about grammar
Yes.
and about task completion. Do
Yes.
any of you assess cultural competence in a speaking type of situation? For example, show me with your fingers money, just with body language. Show me, oh, do you have money? Show me with your fingers. Okay, so I see Israel's doing this. Anything? This. Okay, this. Mesa, what about your?
The same as Isra. The same. We use this.
Josue and Omar, like this. Omar. Oh, I can't hear. Just show me your body language. Oh, Omar, you're muted. I'm sorry. Okay. So one of the things that, imagine, for example, you have a group of students from Japan or Korea, and you're doing a dialogue, a conversation, and you're assessing students. A Japanese student or a Korean student would do this. This means money. Now, Josue and Omar, does this mean money in your country?
No, actually not. That means that you are okay about something.
Oh, maybe okay.
Yes.
Okay? But I know in some countries, this has a very negative sexual meaning.
It does.
The challenge
Yes,
I mean, that's a whole nother layer of assessment. But the idea is, great, Nayeli, you talked about some great competencies. And I'm always interested, that's for a future discussion, on how you can assess cultural competency in speaking tasks as well. But Nayeli, great presentation. Again, some great ideas there.
You asked about in a group how to assess the challenges. I think that at the beginning of courses, when I'm with beginners, what I assess is the interaction. Like, it doesn't matter they are making mistakes. They are communicating, and I like that. And I say, I'm not checking grammar. I'm just checking your interaction.
Good.
And that is
Yes.
also assessing. But you have to build also a checklist. I use checklists. Is the person participating? Is asking questions? Feels interested? And as a checklist instead of a rubric.
That's great. And you know, one of the things with a swap shop like this, I think all of us could say, oh, I got another idea. I have another, and we could expand it. Fortunately,
Can I
I'll
ask
be
a question?
I'll be sharing the PowerPoint with everyone afterwards, so that you have all of these ideas. Yes, Mona.
To Nayeli,
Okay.
now, do you have particular sessions for assessing speaking? I mean, do you devote, for example, to tell your students that, all right, so next time, so the next session, our next meeting will be wholly devoted to speaking test. Did you get my question?
No, I didn't get.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah, I can. But can the others hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Randall?
you.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
no
can.
problem.
We can
Yeah,
hear you.
no
Right,
problem.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought my screen was frozen. Oh, it's okay. Now, my question is, when you are assessing speaking, okay, I mean, do you devote a whole session for assessing speaking, or do you just devote, for example, about 15 minutes or something like that?
I depends on the group. If I have a big group, I divide it to a whole week. This
Okay.
I give a date for each of them,
Okay.
not the whole
I see.
class. And if it is a small group, I say, well, one day and all participate the same day, the same class.
Right. Well, it's a bit different here. Well, we are supposed to have a speaking test at the beginning of every English session. So it lasts about 5 to 10 minutes. It can last more. Okay, and generally speaking, we have to assess students in every session.
Kind of like a diagnostic test to determine.
Diagnostic test, yeah.
Okay.
Kind of. And students are graded. All right. And as I said, I just called, for example, 2 students today. The next session, I'll be calling 2 other students, or maybe 3. It depends on the test itself, or the instructions of the test itself.
When I talk about terms, because I have a continuous assessment every day. I'm assessing every day as they participate, etc. But I have, at the end of a term, I have to do a speaking test.
Okay. I see.
And these are great ideas. Thanks for sharing. And also feel free, I know Nesreen had a question for Mona in the chat. Feel free to communicate through the chat if we don't have enough time to cover every point. But these are great. And that's a great question, Nesreen, about do the students meet every day? But use the chat feature for us to kind of share ideas as well. Let's go on, Mona. And again, thank you. I know we could spend a lot of time talking, and thank you for your sharing of ideas. So Mona, go ahead and let's go ahead and begin yours. And yours is connected to Nesreen, and then we'll talk a little bit about that after.
Okay. Well, my presentation today is called Time for a Song. It's about how to teach songs in class. Listening activities are usually the most frustrating thing for the student, and sometimes even for the teachers. So from time to time, I try to pick up a good song that fits, if you like, with the module or with the chapter or with the ideas I am teaching. And generally speaking, the students do enjoy it. And why do I teach songs from time to time? It's because it's fun, and songs contain some vocabulary that does not really exist in the textbook. And students are exposed to different accents of English. It can be American or British or any other accent. But when it comes to the choice of the song, I think that we have to be careful as teachers. why this song in particular? Why have I chosen this song in particular? Okay, what is it for? What kind of ideas? Okay, the students will benefit of. Then I should also pay attention to the vocabulary used in the song. Is the language appropriate? I think this is very important. And number 3 is, are the pictures and scenes of the video, are they appropriate? Are they decent? Is it something that we are allowed to show in class? For especially, I'm teaching teenagers, so maybe I should be very careful with the video, okay, and the scenes in the video.
Now, I put this in. This will be in the PowerPoint that people can look at in more detail.
Okay. All right. So the song I chose for today is called Invisible by Hanta Hayes. And usually I should always prepare a pre-listening activity. Then we have the while listening, then we have the post-listening activity. And this pre-listening activity, activity number 1, which is called Think, Pair, and Share. All right, it's about, I give them these quotes about bullying. I give them time to think about how they can interpret, how they can comment on these quotes, if you like. Yes, and then discuss their ideas in pairs as a pair work. Then we share all these ideas with the whole class and see whether we have common ideas or different ideas, which students are for, which students are against. Okay, and it really works, and it does prepare them for the main idea of the song, and it gives them a kind of glimpse of what the song will be about. Now, while listening, in case we have a good video, a good, I mean, appropriate scenes, I make them watch the whole song, and then ask them, before, of course, watching the song, I ask them, watch the song and find out what it is about. And here I'm asking about the main idea. Okay, so I think pictures and scenes can be very helpful in understanding what the song is about. I know it's not easy for students to catch all the words from the first time, especially with the music, so then it can be a little bit difficult for them to catch all the words. So maybe these scenes and pictures can help them. Now, activity number 2, in fact, you know, these parts of the song, all these verses, I usually don't have the same activity or the same exercise for the whole song. So for example, I will devote the first part for which is called the adulterated song. It means I can write a word, okay, which does not exist in the song. So they have to follow the first part, listen and follow and find out which word does not exist. Activity number 3, the scrambled lines. For example, the second part of the song, I give them the second part, but the lines are scrambled. So they have to listen and put the lines in the right order. Activity number
It looks like
4.
maybe, okay.
Activity, it looks like there is one which is repeated twice.
Yeah, that, I'm sorry.
Well, it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. Activity 5, for example, choose the right option. So I give them different options. And then all along with these activities, I usually ask comprehension questions. I also try to integrate vocabulary, idioms, and figures of speech, in addition to some language, some grammar. And in this song, I thought so plus adjective or adverb plus that, because this is an expression that comes in the song, that we find in the song. Okay, so I took so plus adjective or adverb plus that. I took the example, and we, if you like, deduce the rule. Then, of course, we should always teach pronunciation. Okay, whenever we have a listening activity, there should be a pronunciation activity with it, a pronunciation task. In this song, I focus on word stress. The post-listening activity, I divided the class into different groups, and I assigned a different activity for every group. The first one was to use the notes to write a summary of the song, and I have given few notes. Number 2, to write an acrostic about one of the following themes: bullying or tolerance, or tolerance. So I gave them the choice whether to choose bullying or tolerance. Number 3, write and enact an interview with the singer. So they have to imagine that. Number 4, write a short ad in which you show the negative effects of bullying on people. So this is another task for a different group. And the last one was draw a picture that shows the negative effects of bullying on people. So I assign this task if I know that there are some talented students in my class who can draw, for example. And these are some of the drawings they have made, very beautiful ones. When they finish drawing, whether in class or this can be assigned as a project at home, they have to come to class and present their drawing and talk about it. So they'll be kind of speaking.
And these are actual ones from your own students, correct?
Yes, yes,
okay.
Yes. Well, that's it, I believe.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot the links. I think these links can be helpful. The first one leads you to the PDF for this song, Invisible, so the whole worksheet. The second one leads to, the second and the third one leads to 2 links that I, on my YouTube channel. These are 2 songs for Michael Jackson that I recorded myself. It's not singing, but the lessons, I recorded the lessons. Okay, so we have presentations and just my voice.
And I was looking forward to listening to you sing. That'll be on the next video. Okay. And just so you know, everyone, I've looked at these links. I'll be sending out the PowerPoint to you so you can review them. I think they're very, very useful. And what I'd like to do is right now, thank you, Mona. I'd like to open up to this particular question. What experiences what have been your experiences in using songs and music in your own classes? So I'm going to open this up to everyone. So what have been your experiences in using song and music? I know Nazreen talked about that, Mona, someone else, Josue, Mesa, or are there cases within your own culture where there are limitations as to what type of music you might be able to use?
Yeah.
Okay, over here.
Yes, Omar.
Okay, well, I think that it's very difficult to use, for me, use songs where you are teaching, because I think that music is something like a personal taste. And if you put a song that, and it is very common that you put a song that not everybody likes, and maybe some people think that you are wasting the time because you are here trying to learn English, not trying to sing it. This is not a singing class. So basically speaking, some of the problems that I have, that first, not all the people like the same song. And second, some people got bored or maybe got mad because of that.
Okay. So Omar, that's a great point, because you want to say, be aware of your audience. And I think that, and I know Mona would agree with that. And Nazreen, you remember last time we were talking about different ideas, and you were talking about drawings and so forth. And maybe the nice thing about what Mona listed is she listed all of these possibilities, and then maybe knowing your students, you'd be able to choose the one that might appeal to them most.
Absolutely, I agree.
Anything else, Mesa, Josue, about music at all?
Can I say something?
Or Isra? Yes, Mona, and then we'll go back to someone else.
What Omar has said is absolutely true, because it always happens with me. Okay, whenever I bring a song into class, there are always people who don't like the song, all the time. And I usually ask, "Do you like the song?" And I hear yes, and I hear no. Okay, so sometimes I try to joke and I say, for those who said yes, good for you. For those who said no, well, I can't help. I'm sorry. This is what we have for today. But it's kind of a joke, okay? But I still think that having songs in class adds some fun. to our lessons, to our sessions. I think it adds some fun. And sometimes when I get along well with my students, by the end of the song, I tell them, okay, now we are going to sing, all of us, okay? And I give them
including you, right? Including you,
yeah,
right?
But by my voice, they cannot distinguish my voice.
Well, great. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just get a couple more comments and then we want to move on. Was there something else, Mesa, Josue, Nayeli?
Yes, can I add something?
Yeah, Mesa, did you have something? Hang on, Nayeli. Mesa, did you have something? Oh, you're muted. You're muted. Yeah.
Okay. Now
Okay.
I think
we're good.
okay. Now for me, using music is different because I don't use I only use the tunes. And I use music only to calm down my students. You know that sometimes when you ask them to write something from the board, you know that they might be naughty while they are writing. They might speak with their friends and they might ask questions. So I usually play the music without words. I mean, only the tunes, so that my students can calm down. They might listen, and I tell them that after the tunes are muted, you have to be done and you have to finish writing. So you can imagine how fast they are trying to write. So this is how do I use the music.
Good. I think that's to create an environment. I think that's
Yes,
great.
exactly.
Well, Sway, did you have something? And then we're going to move on. Sorry, Nayeli.
Can I add something?
Yes,
Go ahead, Josue.
all right, so I'm gonna go really quick. All right, when it comes to songs, this is something that has helped me a lot with my students, because sometimes they are like, teacher, what song are we gonna listen today? Because sometimes I start asking them, well, who's your favorite singer and stuff like that. So sometimes I choose a song that I think everybody will like, right? And then everybody starts singing, and then they get like motivated, right? Because besides of thinking, they are learning grammar as well, because I like to compare that, right? Grammar, new vocabulary, expressions, and stuff like that. So it's really helpful.
Great, right. And I know, Israel, you had a comment.
Yeah.
Just real quickly.
Okay, I think using music with young students is very important, because all the students in grades from 1 to 4, they want to sing, they want to play, they want to act, they want to do everything during the lesson. So music and songs is very important with young students. That I use songs with them and I sing with them all the time with the young students.
Okay, so I look forward to your YouTube video where we can listen to you.
Okay.
All right. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for the engagement and sharing of ideas. We're going to now go on to Omar.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Good. Okay. Good. I'm going to focus on one of the items on that Randall sent me about teaching with very, very low resources, right? Okay, so first, we are going to talk about the assessment. Good. Assessment with just one picture that you can bring to your classroom, or maybe if you don't have a printer, you can draw it on the board, or maybe you just can say to your students, just imagine, for example, just imagine a restaurant, there is 2 diners, and there is a waiter, a waitress, and just a couple of tables around. And that's it. You don't need anything special for this and any technology. Good. Okay. Second, before you make an assessment, make sure that you provide the right tools to assess your students. Because when I was at college, I said to my teachers, if I failed, that's your fault, because you didn't provide me the right tools. And that's always a problem that I had with my teachers, because as a teacher, your work is not teaching. Your work is make sure that your students understand everything that you say, and you have to find yourself the right tools, because some teachers are always using some tools on the internet, some platforms, something that is already done, but they don't look for other and their own materials to make sure that your students understand, you know. So basically, that's what I'm going to talk about. Okay, good. So let's talk about those tools that you have to provide to your students before you make an assessment. Let's talk about this picture. Very common activity that you can use on your classroom is, okay, could you please describe the picture? Okay, good. So what are you student going to say? Your student's going to say, okay, maybe, okay, yes, teacher, this is a restaurant, there is a waitress, and there are 3 people around the table, and maybe they are ordering, maybe they are celebrating something special, and that's it. Okay, that's an answer? No, for me, that's not an answer at all. Actually, I'm going to mark you down, because so I will tell my students, I provide you the right tools to give me a whole experience inside the picture. And over that picture, there is not a restaurant and 4 people and tables. There is a whole universe inside the picture. What about if I ask the student, do you think that the braces that the waitresses got keep her from reading the specials on the menu? And my student said, what? And what's the problem over here? The problem over here is that you didn't provide the right tools. And what is the main tool that I provide to my students? First, the pronunciation that I'm going to talk about that later on, and then the vocabulary, because again, when you open a regular textbook or use a very basic platform on the internet, you are going to always find the very simple language and words that you use around a topic. Okay, restaurant, tables, waitress, the customers, and that's it. And that's not at all, because there are people over there, and you can talk about the parts of the body over there. There are walls over there. You can talk about the materials, like the wall, like the clay, like the shapes that add around every single object that you find. Good. Talking about the restaurant, you can talk about the menu. And if you don't have the right vocabulary related to the menu, because this is not just a menu, this is not just a piece of paper. This is a whole universe again, because you have the specials, you have the desserts, the entrees, you have the starters, you have all the kind of foods related to the seafood, clams, clusters, lobsters, a bottle of wines, desserts, the soft drinks. As I told you, there is a whole universe in every single part of the picture. And if you provide the students with the right tools, you can expect that your students have a good answer when you ask something or you ask the students for give you an answer. Okay, as on the right, you can see one of the exercises that work every single class, which is a list of those words that are not always used, because I'm very picky when I'm talking about your vocabulary. Okay, on the left, which is the first column, on the left, you can see the IPA, which is the phonetics. For me, that is the main tool that you can use to avoid exercises like, okay, repeat after me. You can repeat every, I don't know, 1,000 of times a word, and the student is not going to catch how to pronounce it. Why? Because there is a foundation at the background on every single word. I tell the students, if you don't know how is the English pronounced, you're going to be lost always. Over here in Latin America, we talk about that, the Latin American accent. And so I said to the students, Latin American accent doesn't exist. The thing is that you are using the wrong tool to pronounce the language, you know? It's just like singing, because if you sing with the same voice and the same tools like you talk, you are going to be lost because it's totally different. You have to move your lips different, your tongue, everything, and even your breath when you're singing. So that's why the people are always thinking that they cannot sing. Yes, you can sing, but you have to follow some steps in order to sing well. Okay, talking about again the language, you need to teach your students how the pronunciation is done in every single word. That is some special sounds that you don't work with in Spanish, for example, as for my students. So basically, this tool of the IPA, I provide always the students the first column, the pronunciation, the second column, the word, and then I provide the meaning. In this case, in Spanish, you can prompt your students. If you have students from all over the world, you can prompt your students just to look for in a dictionary in their own language. In order
Omar?
to read, I'm sorry?
No. What I like to do, this is great. And I like the idea of every picture is its own universe. I really like that concept. What I'd like to do, if it's okay, Omar, is I'd like to
problem.
open up right now, just run quickly. What I'd like to do is I'd like to open up the conversation to the group. How
Okay, no problem.
important is pronunciation and is accent bad? Okay, how important is pronunciation, learning pronunciation, and is an accent bad? Just want to open up that to the group. And again, thank you, Omar, for using the picture, the pronunciation, and so forth.
Okay, problem. As I was telling you, after you
Omar?
providing the...
Oh, I'm sorry. No, this is great. I want to open up to the group for this idea
okay, good. No
and
problem.
get some feedback
Go
from
ahead.
the group. Is pronunciation, what are the issues with pronunciation, and is an accent bad? Yes, Nazreen.
Right. So I teach adults English in the United States. So I have students that are native Spanish speakers who are from Vietnam, from China, from kind of all over the place. So I always say that accents are never bad. Accents are wonderful. We'll work on the pronunciation just so that other people can understand what you're saying. But I know that in America, sometimes there's accent reduction classes.
Yeah.
And I tell my students that your accents are all beautiful. They are part of you. I love them. But, we will help the pronunciation so that when you are speaking to other people, that they will understand what you are saying.
Okay. Really good point. The difference between accent, because sometimes students say, I want to talk just like you do, Randall. And sometimes maybe you don't want to, because accent is not bad. It's something that defines who you are, but focusing on the elements that affect pronunciation. Josue, did you have something there?
Yes, and I love the idea, right? Every accent is beautiful, and it's part of you, right? So what I do like to work on is on pronunciation, because sometimes we may have like misunderstanding, right? Sometimes you are trying to say something which is kind of similar because homophones, right? So and that's what I really like to work on, pronunciation. But accents, no, everyone has an accent, and it's beautiful the way it is.
Okay. And I think that just shows the enriching nature of our world and each other.
Absolutely.
I think that's really important. Perfect. Wonderful. Yes, Mona. And then it looks like Nayeli. And Carolina from Mexico has joined us as well. Yes, Mona and Nayeli.
Concerning pronunciation, well, in our native language, the sound R, okay? This is a strong sound in our native language, Ra, okay? And this is one of the major challenges in teaching the children to say R instead of R. Okay, I'm always trying to, I think for me, this is one of the most challenging things because this is the influence of the background or of the native language, of the mother tongue. And one more thing, I noticed that, Omar, are you allowed to translate? I mean, to give the words in English and in your, okay, I see, because we are not.
Yes,
And
correct.
sometimes there can be a pedagogical rationale for providing that. I think, what is the goal and purpose? So thanks for asking. And again, feel free to use the chat to ask additional questions. I would like to see more there so we can share ideas and so forth. Nayeli, and then we're going to
Yeah.
move on.
I wanted to share that in my class I try to provide them listenings from around the world, not just American or British, and they listen to Chinese people speaking in English, and I say that helps you understand the language. And I say, because you're listening to me, my Mexican English, you're listening to other people, and you have to understand. You have to be able to understand. Most people speak in English.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are great ideas. And thank you for
Okay.
sharing.
Can I say some final thing?
Yeah, Omar, go ahead.
Okay, no problem. One of the main challenges that I face in every single class is that most of the material on the internet and most of the material that you provide, even if you use textbooks or something like that, and audios, the textbooks that come with a CD or maybe an application or something like that, those materials are in Native American English or maybe British English. And that's the challenge, because yes, of course, the richness of accents are very useful and it's not bad, but it is a challenge, because when you provide an audio in Native American English, and if you have, for my case, a person with an accent, different accent, he's not going to understand the things, and that's always the problem, because if you say money in Latin American accent, it's different if you say money. If you say enough, it's enough. What are you talking about? Enough? No, I said enough, because it's different. So that's the problem with the accent, because of the material. That's not because I am. I think that the accent is a bad thing or something like that. Okay, that's it.
All right. Thanks, Omar. And hello, Carolina. Welcome to our discussion today. All right, so let's just go on. And Isra, why don't you go ahead and share your part again?
Okay. So we start about the importance of speaking skills, speaking and listening skills. Now I want to add something about the accent. Okay, you know, in our world that we are not native English, so the student, they want to know how to speak English, how to translate their words, how to inform or persuade others. So I will teach them how to communicate with each other, and we have our way to know how to communicate by acting, by playing, by spell the word correctly. How to spell the words, they have to follow, and they have to check in their dictionaries to check the spelling of these words. So the first thing that we have to let the student to explain about themselves, describe all of everything around them. Okay, the first thing we have to know that when we describe their situation or their problem, or describe everything around them, they can move their own words, they can use it, and they can inform each other about their feelings, about what they have to know. The first tool, I use it with them, that I have a box or I have a bag, that I ask them what is inside the bag, what is inside the box. I let them to find these and explain for me by using their own language and their own words, and to connect the ideas together, okay, and to complete your explanation. After that, we have as warm up, we have a picture. I shared with them a picture to remember some details in this picture. Okay, I give them this picture. After that, I remove it and I ask them some question about this picture. Let them to remember more about these details. After that, we have a discussion between each other, like acting. It's a psychologist game. Psychologist game, like we have a patient and we have doctor. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
I think there's a sound.
I hear a sound. I'm not sure if that is your microphone or not.
My microphone.
Okay, just keep going.
Now it's okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Now, we said about that, we explain about what is inside the books, what is inside the bag. They have to explain and describe these things inside the bag. And we have another rule, another acting. We have we have to act like patient or doctor. They will explain some cases to the doctor and find how they can solve these problems. Okay. Can you skip to another slide, please?
Yeah, let's talk. Okay. And then let's talk about remember. I mean, you talked about different activities and games.
We have to show them pictures to describe the details, to remember the details after 2 minutes or 3 minutes before removing this picture. After that, we said that acting or discussion, like acting, we have like patient and doctor, they want to find and they want to solve their problems, okay, in many cases. After discussion, I ask them to use their imagination. So I show them a picture and ask them which picture does represent you. So they have to see this picture. Like if they see a rabbit, they have to think about the adjectives that related to the rabbit, that maybe he will say that I am decision maker, or I am very fast, or like this way. Okay, so show them picture to describe themselves. Then all the time discussion, sharing ideas, remind each other with some cases. It's very important to communicate with each other to describe their feeling or ideas or any situation around them.
Okay. And it sounds like the activities are trying to tap into different senses, touch, sight.
Yes,
and
of
so
course.
forth.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. And what I want to do, Isra, is you share with me a few games. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share those with the group after the broadcast, because I think other people will find those very interesting.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you very much. Again, I like the idea of using different senses of touching, of moving. That is really great. And then we'll come back. So, Mesa, why don't you go ahead and share your ideas?
Okay. Now, I'm going to look at my screen on the laptop so that I can remember the slides.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, great. You are sharing them.
Yeah.
There are lots of things that I usually do in order to teach speaking and listening to my classes or to my students. I'm going to start with the speaking. You know that students are usually shy to speak, especially because you know that they might be afraid to speak in front of a large audience. That's why I try to create some activities and something interesting in order to grab their attention and stimulate them to speak in front of each other. One of those things is the box of topics. Each student in the early morning can share a topic that he or she is interested in, and they can speak about it. Now, also, teach me something is another activity that I usually do with my classes every day as a kind of warming up before I start teaching them. Now, the main idea or the main thing, the main purpose of using these two activities is to encourage students to speak in front of a large audience and to break their fear of meeting a large audience. Also, I use, you know that there is a kind of what we call a card question in the IELTS exam. I also use this card question and share some of these questions with my students online. You can go to the other slide, Randall.
Yep.
Yes. This question is one of the questions that I shared last week with my students. Every day, I try to stimulate my students and ask them to try speaking by sharing with them a topic they can prepare this topic for 1 minute, and after that they can speak about it for just maybe 2 minutes or 1 minute and a half. After they speak, I can give them my feedback, and of course my feedback will be concerning the flow of the ideas. I might say to the student, you did very well, your flow of ideas was interesting, your ideas were also lovely, you don't have grammar mistakes, you were able to express the topic in an excellent way. So I usually give a positive feedback so that students can be encouraged and speak in the next classes.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. At sometimes, like Nayeli mentioned, maybe using a rubric. Other times, you're just giving oral general feedback as support.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly. Yes. And also, this one is another example of the card question that is used in the IELTS speaking exams to speak about. As you can see, these topics are very, we can say they are very simple, so that anyone can express them and can speak about them. Also, I encourage my students to watch YouTubes for the IELTS speaking, because you know that they should know how to use their body language effectively, how to use facial expressions, and how also to behave, or what to do in case that they do not find anything to speak about. So watching these videos will help them a lot in learning how, or in knowing what to do and how to behave in case that you do not know what, or you do not find what to speak. Also, for I think there is another slide, Randall.
Yep.
Yes, these are the things that I usually do with my students in order to teach them listening. I use your website, Randall's Listening Lab, and I think that it's very effective and very interesting for my students, and my students get used to it. Also, while using your website, Randall, I am always inspired to create a kind of discussion. So it means that I can use your website for both listening and speaking at the same time. And this is really interesting.
You know, what's interesting now with my website, again, thanks to many of you, I've taken your voices, those different accents, and changed them into listening activities. So students have the opportunity to listen to different voices now. And that's a great idea.
Yes.
If we could, let's see here. And you mentioned about these practices as well.
Yes. Also, I can share them, the ebooks on my screen, and I can show them the pages that we want to do as a listening task. You know that usually in real classes, I usually provide them with paper copies of the questions. But because we are not going to school, that's why I use the ebooks and I use these pages with my students on the screen so that they can see the pages. They can see the questions, and they can listen to the audio at the same time. They can write their answers on a paper. And after I finish the audio, I can share with them the answers.
Now, great, Mesa. Great ideas. Let me open up the discussion here. I work with students from around the world. I have students from the Middle East, from South America, from Asia, and all of them, have different learning styles. Some are very quiet, like maybe my Japanese students who are always thinking. If I ask them a question, like, where do you live? A Japanese student will do this because they're thinking of grammar first. My Arab students will do this. Oh, me Chicago. They're not thinking of grammar at all. They're thinking of idea first. So how do you balance out? Many of you were talking about students that are quiet. What are some techniques you used to bring out quiet students and keep the loud students or the more active students at bay so everyone has a chance to participate?
For me, I think the most important thing is to give them a positive energy and to encourage them all the time, because you know that if a student is encouraged all the time, he will or she will speak every day. So giving them a positive energy, yes, exactly. Encouraging them to speak is something good.
Okay, great. Someone else. Nazreen. Nazreen and then Nayeli.
I'm sorry.
And then Isra.
with the positive energy, I definitely make sure that all my students feel like they can make as many mistakes as they need to, because that's important. I tell them it's important. I also will make sure that if someone is being quiet, that I call them out. I will say their name and be like, so what do you think? Or whatever the question is, what do you think? And if someone who is more outgoing starts to speak, I'll say, I'll get to you in just a second. Let so-and-so speak first, to give them the opportunity to not have to, to kind of get out of their shell.
Yeah, and I think sometimes students are afraid of making mistakes, and how we respond to them is really important. Thank you for mentioning it. Nayeli and Isra, and then we'll move on.
I was going to talk about turn taking.
Okay.
It could be, and I, as Nazreen said, encourage students that are shy by not making a lot of corrections directly, and also ask them directly by their name and asking for their opinion.
Now, what happens, for example, I know in Arabic, the H sound is very difficult to say for me. So, for example, if Mona is my teacher and I say, oh, hi, Mrs. Behel, Behel, and at some point, I'm just going to give up. And so I think all of you talking about positive energy and support, Behel, is important. Yes, Isra, and then we'll move on.
I encouraged my silent student to be a young teacher, to repeat my ideas more than one time. If they will be a teacher, they will feel that they are strong enough to explain and to be like other students.
Great. All right. And Carolina, before we end, we want to hear a comment from you. Not right now, but we'll hold a comment in a minute. And what we want to do now is go on to Josue from El Salvador.
Great. Can you listen to me?
Yep, we hear you.
All right, great. Awesome. So I'm going to talk about listening and speaking, right? But with speaking, I will focus a little bit on pronunciation more than just, speak. All right. So, but also I have some ideas here that I'd like to share with you. And then the first one says that technology today provides access to many different ways for students to listen. It's not like before, right? That it was really hard for students to get the chance to have like a resource or an access to listen to the English. And, new technologies have provided new ways for people to connect with each other. For example, I never thought I was going to be able to communicate with people around the world like we are right now, from the United States, from the Arab Emirates and Colombia and many other countries, right? So technology has given us this opportunity to connect with us, with people around the world. Also, these technologies also give teachers the opportunities to for engaging students in oral conversations as well as pronunciation practice. All right, so first of all, I'm going to start with the listening end. Can we go for the next one?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thank you.
This one?
Here we have, no, the previous one.
Oh, the previous, I'm sorry. Let me go back here.
Don't worry.
This one right here.
Yes. So the first one is the Voice of America. That's VOA, right? Voice of America. So one great resource is found on the Voice of America website in the Learning English section, because it contains news stories that appear in video format with audio and subtitles. And what I like about this is that the videos allow the students to listen to current news stories that bring them news from around the world. For example, the example shown there, it's about the Women's March that took place on January 21st, 2017. And the march was a big protest that occurred in lots of cities around the world. And it provides great listening material for students because there are a lot of visual cues that students can see, and they can get the meaning, and they can know what's going on. They can get the meaning from both watching and listening, not just listening. And in the picture, you can see that this particular march happened, right? Well, it happened in Washington, D.C. And, when you see the video, you will see that there are a lot of signs that even beginning students can identify and can know the meaning of something. For example, imagine that while you're watching the video or while students are watching the video, they see a sign that says stand up. So even beginner level students can understand what it means. So this is a great resource that I personally like, and these resources are really ideal for bringing current and interesting materials into the classroom, right? Using English that is accessible for learners. And what I like about this is that the videos also include the subtitles that provide text that goes along with audio. Not that you will listen the audio, the voice first, and the subtitles. No, it goes at the same time, and that's why I like this one, the Voice um, of America. Now, the next one, we're gonna talk about pronunciation, like I said, right? In the next one, I like this one the most. Why? Because in this one, sometimes I don't know if this happens to me, but sometimes when I'm reading, like for example, it happened to me last week. I was reading a book and I didn't know what the word means, and I didn't know how to pronounce it. So with this website, Juglish, is really good because you can write the word, or sometimes you can even write expressions there, and automatically a lot of videos will appear where the word or words have been used. And what I like about this one is also that it has the pronunciation, the accent. You can find the American accent, the British accent, and many other accents. So in this case, your students will be able to improve their pronunciation. For example, I wrote, as you can see in the image, I wrote the verb swim by. So automatically, a lot of videos appeared where the word swim by appeared. So in this case, you will not just see like the whole video because sometimes you will have to wait until the word appears. No, in this one, automatically you will listen and watch where the word has been used. You don't have to wait until the word appears or the expression appears. No, it will automatically give you where the word is, and then you will listen how the word is pronounced. And also remember that one word has different meanings depending on the context. So this will give you that idea to see where the word can be used, in which context, and stuff like that. So this is something really useful that I have recommended my students to use so they can improve their pronunciation.
Great, Josue. Excellent. I love Youglish. And before I give my final comments and recommendations, are there any other websites or resources that people have found useful for listening and speaking practice?
Randall?
Yes, we'll do Omar and then Carolina.
I sent via Facebook Messenger their link. I don't know if you got it.
I haven't been checking Facebook right now, but I can pass. If you put that link into the chat, then people can see that as well.
Okay, right, of course.
Okay.
It is toe phonetics.
Okay.
Let me tap it over here because I am new over here. Okay,
No problem. Why don't you go ahead and post that? And I'm going to, Carlina, if you could go ahead and share your thought.
Sure. I don't have a website, but it's a book called Interchange, or it's titled Interchange. And to me, it has provided such a wonderful opportunity to not only listening and speaking to practice all those skills, but to add context. Because to me, if a student has context, he is able to have ideas and connect them to other skills. That's why that's what I do. And the teacher, her name is Monica. She loves Randall. She's the one who recommended me the website, and she uses it all the time. So to me, Interchange changed the way I teach. It provided me a structure and the ability to scaffold with students.
Oh, super. Let's go ahead. And then again, feel free in the chat to share any of your other good resources, because I think they're useful. Let me go ahead and finish out by just sharing a couple of things in about 2 minutes that I think have been really important to me. 2 things. Number one, I found students and teachers want to use different media, but don't know how to slow down the playback speed. So one of the things that I'm going to share right now, you can go to the Google Chrome store. This is for the Google Chrome browser, not on your phone, but on your browser. One of the powerful things, and I'm showing everything in the screen here, is the ability to slow down any video online. In other words, you would go to Google Chrome, you would download the extension, the video speed controller. It will appear in your browser. So like Nayeli, your video here, if you're using my website and you have that extension loaded, you can actually control the audio playback speed on Google Chrome. Now, many people might say, well, you can do that on YouTube. YouTube has the ability to control the playback speed as well. Yes, but also, I don't know how many of you would like to be able to control the playback speed of Netflix. And so this extension will allow you to control the playback speed of Netflix, of Hulu, of just about any video online at small increments without distorting the audio quality. And the last thing is I want to share with you. Have you ever gone to a website? Thank you. Here is Mesa. Mesa participated in one of my broadcasts. And have you ever gone to a website where you see the video on the screen, but when you scroll down the page, you lose sight of the video? Well, this is a great extension. Again, what you would do is you would go to the Google Chrome store. Once you do that, you download it and this little icon will appear. And so when you scroll down, like on my website to answer the questions, this video box will follow you down the page. So you can watch a video and read the content of a website at the same time. And so those two things, I think the video controller, let me go back here, the video controller right here, that I mentioned that controls where the video is in the screen. And probably my favorite is this video speed controller, allows you control the video playback on what you're viewing there. I'm just looking at some other comments. I see some other comments that are coming into the chat. And as we round out, I really want to appreciate, I see top phonetics that Omar shared. Let's see here. Omar says, I use IPA translator. Carolina, I'm so excited to check some of these things out. Video speed controller is very useful, says Mona. ESL Lounge is a great resource. So throughout the presentations today, you know, you shared all kinds of ideas. But to conclude, I just want to know if any of you have any final comments about resources, about challenges and successes in your own class before we end today. Yes, Josue.
Yeah.
And just so you know, before
well,
I will
right
be
now, here's the
sharing this.
situation.
Oh, I'm sorry. I will share this PowerPoint with all of you at the end of the broadcast so you can review all of the notes from everyone. Yes, Josue.
Perfect. So, well, you know, the pandemic situation here in El Salvador is still, right, you know, a little bit hard. So, we are in the online learning process. We're not at schools yet. So, one of the challenges that perhaps we may have when it comes to teaching listening or speaking is that sometimes the internet connection is not that good for some students, and even for us as teachers. I have faced that, you know, sometimes the internet is not that good here. So when I'm like explaining something about pronunciation, some students don't get the idea because my internet is not good, or sometimes theirs is not good. So right. When it comes to online learning, that's one of the challenges that we have. And yeah, that's pretty much what I can say.
Those are those barriers with technology and other simply limit at times our ability to share ideas. Anyone else? All right. Well, again, thank you very much. I want to thank all of you for sharing and participating. I know those are kind of short bursts of ideas followed by conversation, but I hope this allowed you to get an idea of some new ideas, some new technologies from one another. After I finish the broadcast, I will also put information on the broadcast for other people to find out on Facebook. And I think that would be very useful for them as well. And feel free also to share amongst yourselves as you connect, as you learn from one another. That will be another way of of growing, of experiencing, especially as Josue mentioned, in a difficult time that we find each other. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciated all of your efforts today.
Thank you.
Thank you.